The wind was dry and sharp in the Arizona high desert that morning, slicing across the plain like a forgotten spirit, rattling the creosote and whispering through the bones of the old land. It was just past sunrise when Dakota, the widowed Apache, horse trainer, rode across the stretch of red clay and sagebrush toward the butte near his late wife's resting place. His horse, Ghostwind, was restless, sniffing the air and pawing at the ground every few feet. Dakota was used to silence and stillness. He had lived alone for 7 winters now, speaking more to animals than people, but something about the land today was unsettled. He dismounted near the narrow canyon trail and walked with his usual quiet stride. Boots pressing into soft dust, crows circled above in wide, lazy spirals. The desert watched him, as always. Then he heard it. Not the wind, not the rustling of dry weeds, a whimper, faint, human. He froze. There it was again. A desperate, broken sound, not of an animal, but something, too full of fear, too close to death. He followed it, his body low, ears sharpened like a coyote in the dusk. Then he saw her dotted first, just a shape, a strange mound of earth, just beside the flat ridge near the Joshua trees. But then he moved closer. Two pale eyes stared up at him. A girl, buried her neck in the sand. Her face was scratched and sunburned, cracked from the dry air. She couldn't have been older than 16. And her hair was snow white, pure as winter. It glowed in the sunlight like threads of light. Dakota knelt without a word. He looked round. No tracks, no campfire, no horse prints. Whoever did this wanted her to die slowly. There were rocks piled near her, sharp ones, probably meant for throwing. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Are you real?" He didn't answer at first. He was trying to understand. Who did this to you? She could barely speak. They said, "I was cursed. A witch. Because of my hair." Dakota's jaw tensed. His people knew what it was to be cold cursed. He had watched his wife suffer in white hospitals, men in coats speaking words like terminal and nothing more to do. He said nothing more, just reached into his pack for a canteen, poured the water slowly into her cracked mouth. Then he began to dig. It took nearly an hour to free her, his fingers raw from clawing at the hardened earth. Every now and then she would pass out, only to wake again, sobbing, mumbling nonsense. She spoke a name once, Martha, and then something about a church, and they made me kneel. Dakota didn't ask questions, not yet. When he lifted her from the shallow grave. Her body hung in his arms like a bundle of dry sticks. She weighed nothing. Her skin was burned along the arms, her knees bruised and her back lashed. He wrapped her in his own outer shirt, ignoring the way she winced when cloth touched her. They rode together toward his home in the Red Rocks, silent under the climbing sun. His house was simple, adobe walls, a chimney, a goat pen out back, and a long porch where wind chimes whispered old songs. He laid her on his late wife's bed, next to the window that faced the east so she could see the sunrise. For days she barely spoke. He boiled herbs and bathed wounds with soaked cotton. When she wept, he left her alone. When she finally sat up, she only asked, "Why did you help me?" Dakota answered, "Because no one else did." Her name, she told him later, was Eliza. She came from a village 3 valleys east, raised by a devout community who believed her hair marked her as evil. Her own mother had begged the elders to pray the curse away. When it didn't change, they called for cleansing. She held my hand, Eliza whispered, staring at nothing. She kissed my forehead. Then she turned away while they buried me. Dakota said nothing. He understood grief that made silence into a shield. Weeks passed. Eliza began to walk again. Stiff at first, Dakota taught her to care for the goats, to ride bareback, to boil mesquite bark for sore throats. They rarely spoke much, but she began to hum when working. She started braiding her white hair down her back. Sometimes she asked questions. Why he lived alone. Why the old cedar tree near the porch had names carved into it. He told her about his wife, Ayanna, a fierce woman who once threw a snake at, a missionary who called her a savage. She died angry, he said once. But with me, Eliza didn't ask more. One afternoon, Dakota found her sitting at the butte, tears in her eyes. I think she's still watching, Eliza said. Your wife, I feel her here. He nodded. She watches everyone with a broken heart. By the third month, something shifted. The girl who had been left for dead had shoulders strong from chopping wood, arms burned golden by the sun. She still had nightmares. But now she screamed less. Once, when Dakota came in from the canyon, he found her carving something into the porch rail. It was a name. Mother. Her mother. When he asked why, she said, because if she ever comes back, I want her to know I'm not buried anymore. They lived in quiet understanding, but not as father and daughter, not as strangers either, two broken pieces from different stories, finding warmth in the same fire. One night, when rain swept through the desert, Eliza sat at the hearth and whispered, Do you think I was cursed? Dakota sipped from his cup. No, but they needed to believe you were. It made their fear easier. She stared at the flames. What am I? Then, you are still becoming. Word traveled slow across the valleys, but rumors grew like wildfire. Whispers of a pale-haired ghost girl riding a black horse beside an Apache widower, of a girl who had died and come back. White-haired and defiant, one day, near the trading post, Eliza saw someone from her old village. A woman, mouth slack with fear. Eliza did not flinch. She looked the woman in the eyes and said, I forgive you, but I will never forget the earth in my mouth years later. When Dakota passed quietly in his sleep beneath a sky full of stars, it was Eliza who buried him next to Ayanna. She planted a white rose beside the grave. She still lived in the red rocks after that, and she braided her hair every morning not to hide it, but as a crown, because she had once been buried alive, and now she lived more than most ever dared.